Good evening, this is Marin Mandir, writer and director. And this is the audio commentary for Nikolina and Tomislav. Nikolina and Tomislav. Just sit back, make yourself comfortable, get yourself a nice warm cup of tea, and let me tell you about the adventure we had in May 2013. I'm going to try to explain a few directorial decisions I took here. For the mobile titles and the closet door, we have to thank Goran Kramaric. He pointed out a short film to me directed by Vex Flick from Osijek. And there was a scene where a girl opens the car door and the title was attached to the door. And I decided to use it with a twist, so we have one half of the title on the inside of the closet door and the other half at the outside. It was done in Adobe Special After Effects. The triple close-up was also quite effective. It was stylish and often used in anime like Sailor Moon. So with that one scene, we find out that he is still mourning after his ex-girlfriend on the photo. He's drawing and we find out he might be a graphic designer. The drawn bird is a symbol for his faith in love, and when he throws it away, he throws away his faith. But in a poetic scene for me, the drawn bird comes to life and survives, nonetheless. It flies, he turns off the picture on the TV, but the bird remains on the screen and flies away to find another chance. The special effects of the bird were done by Philip Melis, who by that time just finished the visual effects in my previous film, Reptiloid, and immediately went on to do this. The classical music by Brahms is wonderful in that sequence. I love it a lot. So this is a story about two namesake couples. He is Tomislav Verlin 1, and the girl with the black hair and the photo is Nikolina Lesar 1. But unbeknownst to them, on the other part of the town, there was another Tomislav Verlin, let's call him Tomislav 2, in a relationship with another girl whose name was also, coincidentally, Nikolina Lesar. Let's call her Nikolina 2. And they broke up also. What we will see will be a synchronicity romance, when the two couples accidentally cross each other's paths. That is why the story is set in the year 2000, before the social networks, because today it wouldn't be possible. Tomislav 1 would see the photo of Nikolina 2 on Facebook, and no, she's not Nikolina 1. Because that's the way the messages are today, mostly directed through internet, not through letters. This gives the story a sweet, nostalgic touch. In the opening scenes, Tomislav wore a dark grey shirt to symbolize his pessimism and his state of mood. And here he wears a white, optimistic shirt to show how there is hope. He's now upbeat. For the focus out of focus on the glass, I used a Canon photo camera for the first time in order to get the right focal length. A funny anecdote happened while I was trying to find the right location to film the mobile phone conversation. I was spotted and recognized by the mother of a girl with whom I went to kindergarten together. And her mother invited me to her garden and said, "Why don't you film the scene in my garden?" So I did. She was very kind. I played with jump cuts here so you can hear the narration while the locations are changing. This is the first time we hear Nikolina Lesar 2, but Tomislav thinks he's talking with Nikolina Lesar 1. There are obvious discrepancies, like when she says that they went to the concert together when he didn't, when she says how he has brown eyes while he has green ones, but he is so eager to meet Nikolina 1 again that he simply ignores all that. The locations were very nice. We had a very cold winter that year, and we had a very rainy season in the spring. So I was lucky that we had a nice warm weather when we filmed this. This was actually filmed the week after the first filming, or no, actually the second week after the first filming. The first filming was, of course, centered around one special actress who will be coming up right now. So he's now thinking that he will meet his ex-girlfriend, but in reality he will just meet a girl who accidentally has the same name, first and last name, as his ex-girlfriend. The sequence in the park was the first one we filmed. It was the park in Gainice. I cannot watch this sequence without having a smile on my face, because it is so obvious that he and the girl are the only ones waiting at the center of the park. And they are obviously waiting for each other without knowing it. And now we arrive at the biggest surprise of the entire film. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Monica Kish. When I planned to offer the role to her, I thought that the chances that she would accept would be less than 5%, because of such a big distance. After long hesitation, I finally sent her the message on the 2nd of April. Immediately, there were 4 obstacles I had to overcome. The first one was that the message would not end up in spam, and it didn't. She replied to me. Number 2 was that she would actually read the script, and she did. The third one was that she actually likes the script, and she did. And the fourth one was that she would be willing to travel all the way to Zagreb for the filming, and she did. 4 strikes in a row. When she said yes, when she accepted the role, I just went outside of my house, went to sit on a swing that evening, look at the stars in the night sky, and just feel overwhelming awe. I was left speechless. I had no words for this. Monica Kish traveled 500 kilometers, all the way from Novi Sad to Zagreb, because she had faith in my film. Nobody ever went to such great pains and lengths for any of my films before, and I'm ever thankful to her for that, and I will never forget what she did. We signed a contract and she stayed in a hotel. This was, by the way, Claude Debussy, also another example of classical music, which was very fitting. Now they're of course passing by each other, looking past each other, ignoring each other's presence until they finally realize that there might be something. I love how Monica showed her comical side in the part where they are stealing the flowers from each other. Tomislav 1 thinks, who is this girl? And why is she trying to snatch my flowers? While Nikolina 2 thinks that he is a courier who's delivering a bouquet to her. When they finally realize they're just namesakes of each other's previous ex, they at first feel angry. And there's this comical interaction between them, which I simply love. She thinks she was waiting her ex, he was waiting her ex, and then they realize, oh man, we're the namesakes of each other's exes. So this is where they part. They each went to each other's way. They think this didn't work, that this was all a failed experiment. But this is where he realizes that in the whole history of the human race, it is most likely that there never was, and there never will be, another Nikolina Lesser who had an ex-boyfriend with the same name and the same last name as his. This is a 1 in a million coincidence. He decides to check it out. Maybe synchronicity is trying to tell him something. He goes to the flowers where he dropped it, and then sees her mourning on the stairs and goes to comfort her. Goran Devic once told us in a workshop at the Kino Club that the most effective way to conjure up character development is the so-called iceberg method. You can either spend 15 minutes just to establish one movie character, or you can use a few but representative features that will tell everything about someone. It is only the tip of the iceberg, but you can sense all his or her life experiences accumulated in it, from childhood till today. And when Tomislav says how he does not know if it was love, or two people were just tired of loneliness, we find out more about him in that one line than in the whole rest of the movie. This was my first film where I decided to show something from the bottom of my soul. My first romantic film. My previous comedies were impersonal. This one was personal, emotional. And the first time that I dared to play an introverted role. Alas, I was glad that Monica and the whole crew were there to give such strong support for the story. Not that the comedy cannot be a shining film, far from it. I love my previous comedies, but here or there I get the urge to do something different. I love how there's this confusing way how she sees the ex-Tomislav in him and tries to make her move, and he's surprised. He thinks, well, aren't you curious to try it out? I mean, this is 1 in a million chance. And she said, okay, why not? I just love the secret odyssey the flowers had in the film. First, Tomislav and Nikolina fought over who will get the flowers. Then she didn't want them. And then he threw away the bouquet. But in the end, as a twist, Tomislav picks up what belongs to him, the shirt, whereas Nikolina picks up the flowers. So she gets the flowers what were intended to her in the end, a full circle. One of my favorite jokes is coming up here where Nikolina 2 and Tomislav 1 are on the King Tomislav Square, coincidentally, joking about how a horse stable probably paid for the statue of the horse. I don't know why I find this so funny, but I just do. Some people see the man, they see the horse. The principal photography was on the 18th, 19th and 20th of May, and the priority was to film all of Monica's scenes first, and then the other scenes next week. I tried to avoid that particular week because I was an observer during local elections in the afternoon that Sunday, which means that I had to push the majority of filming on Saturday to compensate for only half of a day of available filming for tomorrow. The crew exchanged, but that Saturday Monica was there for 11 hours, 11 consecutive hours. This is proof of her devotion and professionalism as an actress. Even though it was evening and she was tired, once the camera rolled, she was full of energy again, for the sequence where she courageously tells the punk on the alley to get away, played by Bojdar. I still have bad conscience because of that, but as said, such were the circumstances and I had to do that. They were beyond my control. At times I get the impression that Monica has photographic memory, because she knew not only her lines, but the lines from her one film she did 2 years ago, and she still knew it. I find that astonishing. My first on-screen kiss. But we did not kiss in real life, I just tapped my lips an inch from her lips, because she was in a relationship and there was no need for this movie to go into detail. So I just had this way, filmed it that way. The image of them leaning on a tree is almost a direct reenactment of Arthur Hughes' romantic 18th century painting, The Long Engagement. This was one of the first sequences I assembled during early editing, and I played Pachelbel's beautiful music here, just to see how it's going to look like. And the music made my heartbeat go faster. I experienced emotions in my film for the first time. I was carried away. This was where I said to myself, this just might work. It really might work. Upon rereading the script again and again, I was getting nervous about the page describing this scene, because there was the danger of it turning too sentimental. Therefore, I decided to strategically film it in a wide shot, to have the camera keep its distance from Tomislav during this intimate monologue, thereby giving a right balance of emotional distance. However, it wasn't even necessary. Numerous other actresses would have acted syrupy here, but not Monica. As Nikolina, she said all those lines perfectly in this crucial scene, neither too sentimental nor too restrained, but just right. Very few would pull off such a delicate balancing act. And I have to give some credit to Božidar. He suggested the location, the Stari Grad in Podsused, and it was just gorgeous. I'm proud to have directed Monica Kish in the leading role. She has so much potential, and when you just give her room to act a larger, complex role, in such an interesting character like here, in such a wonderful context, she really shines. This is the point where we, for the first time, see a glimpse of Tomislav Berlin too, played by Taro. Because she inadvertently thought about her ex, because her new one has the same name as her ex. She thinks about her former relationship, her past, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. Nikolina sitting all alone on the stadium, so confused, so vulnerable, so far away from anyone. The scene was filmed by accident. Monica was sitting on the concrete for a photo session. I just instinctively turned my camera towards her, filmed 5 seconds, which were then used in the sequence. And for the split screen scene, I wanted to film only half of the bench, while the couple would be standing. But Monica suggested to film the whole bench, and the couple sitting. I filmed both versions. In the end, I decided to take Monica's version, because it was aesthetically more pleasant. Nikolina is one of those persons who keep their pains and inner turmoil to themselves, and don't show it on the outside. She's already in calm shape in this scene in front of Davor. And Nikolina really has a great sense of humor. This funny remark about how she would rather buy a juice featuring a family fighting on the envelope is one of my favorites. Monica's instinct to play Nikolina insecure and reluctant while talking to him about new Tomislav was right. I just couldn't wait to finally have her and Kamarich interact. They are two giants on each other in their own way. I had a small meta-film touch here. Now, they're talking about the movies of Jarmusch and Woody Allen at the end. And what are Jarmusch and Allen most known for? For long takes. That is why I decided to film this in a long take. And this is where she talks how her romantic presents to her ex were actually inspired by something that I heard from a girl. She did something like that. I thought it was very sweet to have a coupon and to have something that can be used wisely. You don't have to buy something. You can use a coupon for some forgiveness or something like that, which is quite interesting. I always crack up when Kramarich's character realized he asked two personal questions, so he switches to the topic of Jarmusch movies. I really like this way he acts and the way she acts. And Monica's laugh here seems so natural at the end. She did a brilliant job. Nikolina Lesser is one of the greatest characters I ever created. But she wouldn't be half as fascinating without Monica. She really gave a huge contribution.